Hello everyone, I'm David Paulides, and today we're diving into a mystery unlike any you've ever heard before. With the Missing 411 project, I've spent years researching unexplained disappearances, cases that leave police, rescue teams, and the victims' families baffled. But today, I'm going to tell you about two disappearances in Alaska, one of which might change the way you think about safety and what we believe we can control in life. Before we begin the story, I want to share a bit of personal experience with you. When I was younger, I lived in California and frequently took boats out on Lake Tahoe, a place of breathtaking scenery, but also many hidden dangers. My friends and I spent countless days on the water, learning to navigate rough waves and through the dark nights, relying only on the faint light from the top of Heavenly Valley to guide us back. I remember taking a maritime safety class designed for police and rescue teams. In that class, I learned that nothing is more important than thorough preparation before heading out to sea. From knowing the exact location of life vests to understanding how far you are from shore, every small detail could determine life or death. And why do I mention this? Because those preparations, however thorough, are sometimes not enough to prevent a disaster. That's exactly what happened this month in Alaska. A tragedy that I feel responsible to share, especially as I'm planning a trip to Alaska next month to lead a Bigfoot expedition and organize 2 fishing trips. I know many of you will be joining that trip on the boat, and there are some lessons from today's story that I believe you will need to remember. On August 3rd, 2024, the Maynard family from Texas boarded a 28-foot aluminum boat. This isn't just a story about going missing at sea. It's more than that. When the boat started to sink, the decisions made in those few short seconds determined the fate of the entire family. But the story doesn't stop there. There are more terrifying details, questions that remain unanswered to this day. I don't want to reveal too much right now because I want you to truly feel each moment of this story. But I promise you, once you hear it, you'll understand why I always stress that nothing is more valuable than preparation and understanding the environment you're facing. Together, we will explore the mysteries of Alaska, a place not only of stunning beauty, but also full of challenges. August 3rd, 2024 began with gentle rays of sunshine illuminating the majestic scenery of Homer, Alaska. Cool breezes swept through, carrying the salty breath of the sea, signaling a perfect day for the Maynard family's vacation. Months earlier, David Maynard had meticulously planned this trip, hoping it would be a chance for his family to escape the pressures of daily life in Troy, Texas, and immerse themselves in the serene, untouched beauty of Alaska's wilderness. David Maynard, 42 years old, was a devoted father, a tough yet loving man. With a flexible job as a gardener, David spent most of his time taking care of his 2 sons, Colton and Brantley. Every afternoon, he would play baseball or football with the kids, or organize small fishing trips at the nearby lake. Those moments always made David feel happy, because he knew that family was the most precious thing in his life. Mary, 37, was a traveling nurse. Her job required her to move constantly, from hospital to hospital across the country. Despite her busy schedule, she always knew how to balance her career and family life, and this trip to Alaska was a gift she wanted to give to David and the kids after long months of being apart. Mary was always the heart of the family, the one who kept everyone connected and nurtured the warmth of their little home. Colton, 11 years old, with bright eyes and a lively personality, was the pride of his parents. He was smart, quick-witted, and loved to explore. Brantley, Colton's younger brother, only 7 years old, was mischievous but incredibly lovable. The 2 brothers were inseparable, creating joyful and sometimes mischievous moments that filled the family with laughter. This trip to Alaska, according to David, was an opportunity for the Maynard family to experience new things, and more importantly, for his children to enjoy outdoor fun, away from electronic devices. They had been looking forward to this day for a long time, and now, standing at the Homer dock, gazing at the vast blue ocean, they were filled with excitement. David had prepared meticulously for this trip. He rented a 28-foot aluminum boat, a type known for its durability and resilience in harsh sea conditions like those in Alaska. The boat was fully equipped with safety gear, from life jackets to signal lights and a radio. With his many years of boating experience, David felt confident that his family would be safe on this boat, even in rough seas. The whole family boarded the boat with excitement. Colton and Brantley ran to the bow, shouting with joy as they saw the distant beach. Mary stood next to David, holding his hand, her eyes filled with happiness. For them, this was a perfect moment, a dream vacation they had long awaited. The boat slowly left the dock, gliding through the calm waters of Cook Inlet, with the endless sea stretching out before them, meeting the blue sky at the horizon. In the distance, snow-capped mountains created a stunning backdrop, like the pictures they had seen in photo books. Colton and Brantley couldn't contain their excitement as they experienced the open sea for the first time. They kept asking David about the big fish they might catch and the exciting things they would see on this trip. David, with all his experience, knew well that the sea always held unpredictable dangers. Even though the water seemed calm today, he maintained a certain level of caution in his heart. Alaska, the land of wilderness and mystery, could change rapidly within minutes. David had heard many stories of disappearances at sea, where boats and sailors vanished without a trace. But today, the sky was clear, the sea was calm, and he reassured himself that everything would go smoothly. The boat sailed further from the shore, about 16 miles out, where David felt it was safe enough to start the fishing trip. The family stopped and began to prepare their fishing gear. Colton excitedly grabbed the fishing rod his father had prepared for him, his eyes lighting up with hope of catching a big fish. Brantley, though younger, also wanted to join in, even though he didn't really know how to use the rod yet. Mary stood by, watching the boys, a smile on her face, happy to see her children enjoying the trip. However, as the Maynard family was enjoying this joyful moment, something unexpected happened. David noticed that the waves were starting to become stronger. A sudden large wave slammed into the side of the boat, causing it to rock. He quickly checked the safety equipment and sensed that something was wrong. Although the sky remained clear, the waves that followed seemed increasingly violent. David felt a chill run down his spine. He knew all too well that the sea followed no rules, and disaster could strike at any moment. He quickly called out to Mary and told the boys to return to the cabin. "Kids, go inside. Your mom and I will take care of things," David said, his voice filled with concern. As the family tried to regain stability on the boat, an emergency signal was sent to the Alaska Coast Guard. The signal came from the Maynard family's boat, but it was unclear. It might have been from their EPIRB, an emergency position indicating radio beacon that sends out distress signals when a boat is in trouble, or perhaps a brief radio call before they lost communication. The GPS coordinates indicated that the boat was in danger, about 16 miles offshore. The Coast Guard immediately issued an emergency alert, calling all boats in the area to provide assistance. They didn't know exactly what had happened, but with the distress signal, they understood the situation was dire. Salty Dog, a larger fishing vessel, was the first boat to arrive at the scene. When they reached the location, the first thing they saw was a life raft with 4 people on board. The waves around them weren't too strong, only about 2 feet high, which confused the crew even more. How could a sturdy aluminum boat like the Maynard family's sink in such conditions? There was no trace of the boat. And even more frightening, there was no sign of the Maynard family. The Coast Guard quickly dispatched helicopters and additional rescue boats to the area. They scoured the region for 36 hours, searching for any possible signs, but the sea only responded with deadly silence. The Maynard family had vanished without a trace, as if they had never been on the sea that day. The people of Troy, Texas, where the Maynard family lived, also felt this pain. News of the disappearance spread and shocked the entire small town. The Maynard family was well loved, always friendly, and actively contributing to the community. Neighbors still remembered the laughter of Colton and Brantley as they played baseball, or the image of David tending to the family garden, always willing to help anyone in need. As the news of the disappearance spread, the town was enveloped in an atmosphere of gloom and anxiety. Prayers were constantly being sent up to the heavens. Friends, neighbors, and loved ones of the Maynard family were all hoping for a miracle, wishing that they could be found and returned safely. But as the long days passed without any new information, fear gradually turned into despair. The hopeful expressions of the community slowly faded, replaced by sorrowful headshakes and an indescribable sense of helplessness. One strange thing that puzzled those involved in the search was the complete absence of physical evidence. In other boat accidents, there are usually debris, personal items, or even oil slicks that rise to the surface. But in the case of the Maynard family, there were no signs of the sunken boat, no belongings of the family floating in the water. It was as if the sea had erased everything, that's leaving no trace of their existence. David Paulides, who had researched many missing person cases, realized that this wasn't the first time he had encountered such a situation. In his previous investigations, there had been similar cases, people or groups of people who disappeared without leaving any traces, with no clear explanation. This led to speculations and questions that David had faced for many years. Were there supernatural factors, mysterious forces at work beyond human understanding? Or is it simply that we are not yet capable of deciphering all of nature's mysteries? He recalled other stories about the waters of Alaska. Many locals had told him that certain areas of the sea here were considered forbidden zones, where strange occurrences frequently happened. There had been fishing boats that disappeared, never to be found, and pilots who vanished while flying over the area with no explanation. People called it the Alaska Triangle, a region thought to be the site of many mysterious disappearances, much like the Bermuda Triangle. David wasn't someone who fully believed in supernatural theories, but he couldn't completely dismiss those stories either. The disappearance of the Maynard family seemed to push him to the boundary between science and the mystical. He knew that not everything could be explained by conventional logic. Sometimes, nature holds secrets that humans cannot fully understand. After nearly a week of fruitless searching, the Coast Guard was forced to suspend active rescue operations. Although no one wanted to give up, time and resources had been exhausted. Continuing the search as the weather worsened was nearly impossible. Local fishing boats continued to scout the area, but no one held much hope of finding the Maynard family alive. The investigative team began to revisit all the data and evidence collected during the search. They reviewed the emergency signal, analyzed the GPS coordinates, and thoroughly examined the information from the survivors on the lifeboat. But nothing stood out. None of the survivors knew exactly what had happened to the Maynard family. Everything happened too quickly, too abruptly. They only remembered that after a sudden shock, they found themselves on the lifeboat, while the Maynard family was nowhere to be found. The story became more vague and mysterious than ever. What had really happened to the Maynard family that night? Did they encounter a sudden storm, or was there an unexpected accident? Could there be factors that science has yet to explain? On October 10, 2011, the cold air of Alaska was biting, and a thick fog hung like a shroud over the dense forest north of Fairbanks. In the dim morning light, a search and rescue team was prepared to begin a new mission for a missing person. Gerald DeBerry, 53 years old, was a veteran member of the rescue team who had spent much of his life doing this work, particularly in the dangerous mountain and forest areas of Alaska. Gerald was no stranger to the bone-chilling cold and the harshness of nature in this region. He had led many successful rescue operations, bringing missing individuals back safely from places where even the smallest mistake could cost a life. But this time, the story was different. Gerald wasn't just part of a rescue mission. He had become the victim of a mysterious disappearance himself. This not only shocked the community he lived in, but also raised unprecedented questions about human survival in one of the most unforgiving landscapes in the United States. That day, the rescue team was searching for Melinda, a woman from Utah who had gone missing around 2 a.m. while riding ATVs with a group of friends. Melinda had gotten separated from the group as darkness and thick fog descended, making it impossible for her to keep up. Panic slowly crept in as she wandered further, unable to retrace her steps. Her friends attempted to search for her, but when that proved futile, they quickly alerted the authorities. The rescue operation was initiated immediately. Gerald, who had lived near the area his entire life, was one of the first to respond. He knew the forest trails well, was experienced in navigating treacherous terrains, and, most importantly, was a seasoned rescuer whom everyone could rely on in times of danger. With his deep knowledge of the area, everyone believed that Gerald would find Melinda before she had to endure the bone-chilling cold of the Alaskan wilderness for too long. At 7 a.m., the rescue team split into smaller groups, equipped with modern tools like GPS, trackers, and signal lights. Gerald chose to go alone on his green Yamaha Kodiak ATV, a machine that had accompanied him through countless dangerous missions. He was confident that he would quickly find traces of Melinda and bring her back to safety. However, no one could have anticipated that this journey would turn into a search for him. In the early hours of the rescue, Gerald met with several colleagues at a rendezvous point along a trail. At that time, he mentioned feeling cold and a bit fatigued. A fellow rescuer quickly handed Gerald a warmer jacket from his toolbox, and together they lit a small fire to warm themselves before resuming the search. After about 45 minutes of rest, Gerald felt better and ready to continue. He thanked everyone, donned the jacket, and got back on his ATV, disappearing into the thick fog. By 10 a.m. that day, the rescue teams had spread out in different directions to survey the nearby forested areas. Gerald headed northeast, searching for Melinda in a region where he believed she might have wandered. His colleagues weren't worried. They trusted in Gerald's resilience and survival skills. He had undertaken many difficult missions before and had always returned safely. However, as time passed with no word from him, unease began to grow among the group. At 6:30 p.m., another rescue team found Melinda. She was cold and exhausted, but thankfully not seriously injured. The rescuers sighed in relief, knowing that the missing person had been saved, and they called all other members to return to the gathering point. But as everyone gathered, a chilling realization dawned. Gerald hadn't shown up. Gerald's disappearance left everyone in shock. They immediately organized a search for him, starting from the last known location where he had been seen. The rescuers knew Gerald to be a responsible individual who would never leave the search area without reporting back. Yet, he had vanished without a trace, leaving the entire team worried and fearing the worst. The very next morning, a large-scale search operation was launched to find Gerald. 2 helicopters from the Alaska State Troopers flew over the area, scanning the dense forest where Gerald might have passed through. Ground search teams were equipped with drones and the most advanced search tools to comb through every inch of the thick forest, hoping to find any sign of him. Alaska is not a place where one can easily survive if an accident occurs, especially given the harsh weather conditions and treacherous terrain. With towering, snow-covered mountains, fast-flowing glacial rivers, and sprawling dense forests, it's no surprise that many people who go missing in this area are never found. But Gerald's case was different. He wasn't a tourist unfamiliar with the land. Gerald knew how to survive, how to navigate, and most importantly, he had participated in many previous search and rescue missions. How could someone like him disappear completely without leaving any trace? On the second day of the search, a significant discovery was made. Gerald's ATV was found. It lay on a small hill, not far from the trail where he was last seen. What was strange, however, was that the ATV was completely intact, undamaged, and the engine had been turned off. The only clue was the tire tracks showing that Gerald had tried to drive up the hill before stopping. His ATV was in a halfway position, as if it had stalled or been shut off while climbing the hill. This led to the theory that perhaps Gerald had tried to ascend the hill, but was unsuccessful, forcing him to leave the vehicle and continue on foot. But the big question remained. Why were there no footprints or any other clues indicating that he had left the vehicle? And why, being so familiar with the area, didn't he return to seek help? The more they searched, the more the clues seemed to vanish into thin air. No matter how much advanced search equipment was used, no one could figure out where Gerald had gone after leaving his ATV. The rescue team gradually realized that Gerald's case was not just a typical missing person scenario. There was something vague, even strange, overshadowing the entire situation. Gerald's colleagues, those who had worked alongside him for years, couldn't comprehend what had happened. To them, Gerald was a legend in the rescue community. someone who always knew how to navigate challenges and find a way out. They couldn't believe that he would find himself in a situation he couldn't control. But the reality in front of them was that Gerald had disappeared, and no one could find any sign indicating whether he was alive or had encountered an accident. As time passed, more unanswered questions arose. Had Gerald gotten lost in the thick fog and couldn't find his way back? Or had he suffered an unexpected accident, such as falling into a ravine or being attacked by wildlife? But the most puzzling aspect remained. If something had happened to Gerald, why were there no signs? No blood, no traces of a struggle or accident. It was as if he had vanished from the world without leaving a single trace. As the searches dragged on in vain, various theories began to emerge, ranging from the practical to the supernatural. One of the initial theories was that Gerald might have become disoriented due to the thick fog and the harsh cold. However, this was unconvincing, as Gerald was far from inexperienced. He had faced far more dangerous situations and always managed to find his way back. Another theory came from those living nearby, who believed in the local legends surrounding the Alaska Triangle. They suggested that there might be supernatural forces or another dimension existing in this area, and those who entered could be drawn into another realm, never to return. Gerald might have inadvertently stepped into a place that didn't belong to the world as we know it, and his disappearance wasn't a typical accident, but rather a vanishing that modern science cannot explain. Scientists and rationalists dismissed this theory, claiming it lacked evidence. However, this didn't stop the stories and rumors about the mysteries of Alaska's wilderness from spreading further. The community around Fairbanks continued to speak of Gerald DeBerry as a legend, and his disappearance has since become one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in the region's history. After more than a week of searching with no results, the rescue teams were forced to officially call off the search. Gerald's family and friends were left in deep sorrow and loss, not only because they had lost a loved one, but also because his disappearance raised far too many unanswered questions. They could not accept that Gerald, a strong, intelligent, and highly experienced man, could vanish without leaving any trace. The theories and speculations surrounding Gerald's disappearance continued to linger in the hearts of those who knew him. Some believed he might have had an accident and fallen into a ravine that the rescue teams couldn't access. But no one could explain why there were no signs of him, and why even the most advanced search equipment didn't detect anything. Had some mysterious force intervened in Gerald's fate, or was it simply a random event in a world we cannot fully comprehend? This question remains unresolved, and the disappearance of Gerald DeBerry has become one of the most mysterious and puzzling stories in the wilds of Alaska. A seasoned man, an abandoned ATV on a hill, and a vanishing without explanation. These are just small pieces in the larger puzzle of Alaska's mysteries, where nature seems to hold secrets that humanity may never fully uncover. And so, the story of Gerald DeBerry ends without resolution, yet it continues to intrigue, captivate, and haunt those who have heard of him. The disappearance of Gerald DeBerry and the Maynard family are unforgettable stories that have left a profound mark on those involved, raising questions that may never be answered. Alaska, with its majestic natural beauty, harsh terrain and weather, and mysterious legends about strange disappearances, remains a land full of secrets that humanity has yet to unravel. Gerald DeBerry's disappearance is one of the most mysterious in Alaska's rescue history. It's not only because he was a highly experienced rescuer, but also due to the bizarre and unexplainable circumstances surrounding the case. Gerald was fully aware of the dangers in this land, yet somehow he was swept into the vortex of a mystery that neither modern technology nor human survival experience could clarify. His ATV was found atop a hill, undamaged, and there were no signs of an accident. There were no footprints or traces of him around the vehicle. This fueled numerous theories, ranging from supernatural intervention to more practical explanations, such as the possibility of injury or a health problem. However, all of these remain mere speculation. Similarly, the disappearance of the Maynard family raises major questions about maritime safety and the unexplainable mysteries of the Cook Inlet region. Their sudden vanishing in relatively good weather conditions sparked concerns about how easily people can be swallowed by the vast Alaskan sea. In both cases, everyone agrees that the wilderness of Alaska is far more unforgiving than we can imagine. It's not just the harsh weather or treacherous terrain, but it seems there's a certain power at play here, something that science has yet to explain. From sudden storms and large waves to the untamed land itself, all these factors contribute to Alaska's reputation as the land of unsolved disappearances. These stories serve as a powerful reminder that nature, no matter how beautiful and captivating, always harbors unimaginable dangers. No matter how strong or knowledgeable we may feel, humans remain vulnerable, small creatures before the immense power of nature. Alaska, with its breathtaking landscapes and wild beauty, has also borne witness to many unwanted tragedies. For those planning adventures in remote places like Alaska, the disappearances of Gerald and the Maynard family serve as warnings about the importance of thorough preparation and maintaining constant vigilance. No matter how experienced you may be, there's no guarantee of absolute safety in lands where nature rules everything. David Paulides, who has monitored and researched numerous disappearances across the U.S., particularly in wilderness areas, consistently emphasizes that there are natural laws we do not yet fully understand. Each disappearance shares common factors, no traces, no reasonable explanations, and this only deepens the curiosity and concern about what might be happening. From Gerald's story, the rescue community in Alaska and around the world has realized that even the most experienced individuals can fall victim to nature's power. Rescue work requires not only skill and experience, but also caution and awareness of the risks one may face. This is a call to all rescue workers: always be careful and never underestimate the force of nature, no matter how familiar you may be with it. Furthermore, these incidents also serve as a reminder to local authorities to strengthen safety measures, especially in providing visitors and locals with information about the potential dangers in remote areas. There is a need for more advanced tools to assist in search and rescue operations, including better tracking devices, drones with wider operational range, and thermal sensor technology. Each disappearance is a tragedy, not only for the victims, but also for their families and friends. At the same time, is a reminder that we must continuously improve and develop safer methods and better technology to help minimize these risks. Despite all efforts to find Gerald DeBerry and the Maynard family, their loved ones still hold on to hope. They never fully give up the belief that one day the truth will be revealed. Prayers continue, not only to ask for a miracle, but also to honor the brave souls lost in those wild lands. The rescue teams have learned valuable lessons from these disappearances, improving their rescue procedures and implementing better preventive measures for future search operations. It is hoped that these stories will serve as a reminder, not just for those involved in rescue work, but for all who are passionate about exploring nature. Always prepare thoroughly, remain cautious, and always respect the power of nature. For those intrigued by mysterious disappearances, the story of Gerald DeBerry and the Maynard family will continue to inspire, ignite curiosity, and evoke compassion. The unsolved mysteries will remain part of the legends of Alaska, a place where nature keeps secrets that humans may never fully understand. In the end, we can only hope that someday the unanswered questions will find their resolution, and the families of those missing will find solace in the truths they have long sought.